Okay, now will you please turn around, close your eyes, and I'd like to describe a situation that may not altogether be a matter of imagination. Think ahead a few months into the future. We're in the midst of the presidential campaign. And on campus has arrived a candidate who's not altogether popular with the local militants and activists. And the Diamond Auditorium is packed, but a number of people are going to try to force their way in. And your instructions from the chief have been that to avoid a riot, nobody else is to be admitted into the auditorium. Do you get the picture? And your militants are about to arrive. I think I hear them coming.
Okay, let's go in here. Come on.
Hey, what's going on? What's the story here, man? Huh? Come on, let's go. Come on, man. What's the story? Let's go. We gotta go in there.
Damn racists like that in there. But if you get it, like you would go in there.
Hey, you know what this guy did not last year alone? You like a brother. Listen to what he did? Are you kidding, man? You let us in there?
Protect someone like that. What's wrong with you?
It's a real funny situation. This man is murdering our children, man! What are you doing?
Fire.
Hey, man, what are you talking about, fire?
I don't understand. Why are you supporting a man like that? Do you want to be kept down like that? I don't understand.
We have a right to go in there. We just want to go in and hear it.
No, why?
Is that okay? Can we go in and hear it?
I can see.
Screw you, man! What's going on here? Come on!
There's no reason why we can't go in. I mean, it's open, it's free, it's that. Why can't we go in? We're not going to cause
What's
you
with you,
problems.
Mr. Williams?
We just want to go in.
You won't let us go? Fucking racist in that war. You piece of shit, man. I'm standing up for your race. You think it's part of your job to protect a man that's going to do that? Going to do that to your family? You know? You really think that's smart?
Come on, man! What's going on? Let's go in. Come on! What is this?
There's no reason why we can't go in.
What's wrong?
Hi.
Hey, fuck you, man!
All right, let's get our circle. Well, things are getting a little hotter. Who wants to talk first? Who has a real... Beg your pardon?
When they hit that.
Explain that.
Explain that?
Yeah, explain why you see this as a point for arrest.
They made a violent attack to get through and fighting, and they provoked it. And, I think it's been grounds for an arrest, because that's just going too far. And I think when Ron maybe would have made the confrontation, that it would have started anyway. You know, and
Joe?
Well, I think you could have dispersed the group by using this little thing they call maze here. All you do is scram a couple of times, and it automatically had to fall back because it's a powerful stuff.
Of the alternatives of using the mace or what happened with Ron, so let's talk to Ron for a while. What was going through your gut while all this was happening?
Well, for one thing, I forgot about the men that were standing behind. That was my first point, that I made a mistake. Also, before, I said as long as you're pushing me and abusing me, then that is okay. But once you bypass me, then you're not going to let me do my job. And that's the point where I'm going to act, and that's what happened. When the fellas started on this side, the young lady decided she'd go right through, and not thinking about the fellas in back of me, you see. Then if I had thought about them, then I wouldn't have been in the position that I was in.
If I'm catching what you're saying, if you had a little more confidence in your backup, maybe a great deal of what did happen wouldn't have taken place.
What he means is he didn't consider that he had men behind him to take care of anybody that did go by him.
Does that show you anything, Ron? Just a minute. Just in that first sequence episode, you were telling you ran that same thing about this person getting around me, and then I got to move. And now in this one, you forgot. You forgot your cardinal rule there.
You're misreading me. In other words, what I'm saying, you can push, because that doesn't really bother you. Pushing.
Pushing that bother you, Ron?
No.
Come on.
Now, when the young lady went past.
Ron, can I ask you a question, really? How long has this been that this pushing hasn't bothered you? Was it that magic day that you put on that gray uniform and the pushing all of a sudden stopped bothering you? Was that the day that resulted? When you're out there walking around in the street and somebody pushes you, that doesn't bother you, Ron?
No. It never bothered me about somebody.
Are you Superman? Do you got a suit underneath that suit you got on top?
This is all I need.
Ron.
It represents iron.
Ron. Why did you start off? No, you started off when you were standing over here, big grin on your face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all cool. But when she started pushing through, that grin was gone. You telling me it didn't bother you? When she started pushing on you?
No, it did not bother me. Because, all right, she did not push me. She was going past me. And this is the point wherein she was not supposed to do this. Because
You were
I was
just
put
stopping
there.
her, right?
Right.
How'd you end up way over here?
Well, I don't know exactly.
Well, she was behind you. Were you doing a little bit of the pushing?
I don't know, really. When I caught her, I was going to spin her around and come to this position. And the next thing,
You forget things awful easy. You were standing here when you confronted her. How the hell did you end up back here? She was behind you.
were you observing?
Yes, I was.
Then you tell me. I don't know how. I just told you. Now my intentions were to end up over here. Now when I went in the spin, I don't know. Suddenly there was a crowd, and my friend Corporal Seegson was right there to back me up, which I was happy to see. Or was that Jack?
I was somewhere around.
Jack, what do you think about this whole situation?
Well, you know, if it's been a little calmer, if you can, well, I would have liked to have been rational about, you know, like have one person you can talk to. But that was beyond the point of being rational. So therefore, you couldn't say anything to them because everybody was talking, everybody was irrational, and it'd been a waste of breath to really attempt it. It's the only thing you can say, I'm sorry, you can't pass me. You can't enter this building. That's the only thing you can do. No matter what they say, that's it. I mean, that's what you're there for, and that's what you're going to do. Nobody's going to enter that building. Those are the orders you have. No matter, you know, who the person is, you'd like to say, well, yeah, it's a free country, you know, you got your party, so you can't do this now because it's beyond that point of talking. It's now strictly, I guess, force against force, if you want to call it that.
Joe, I started talking to you back here, saying a lot of things to you. How'd you feel
A lot
about
of
that?
nasty things.
Yeah.
Well, it didn't bother me too much because, he called names before, and names doesn't hurt.
Doesn't bother you?
No.
You don't have any feeling about it when somebody calls you those names. Don't react to it.
I don't. I guess I just trained myself to, react that way.
You're saying you trained yourself. You're not like Ron. You weren't born that way.
No.
There was a point that it did bother you before in the past.
Yes, before I became a policeman, yes, it's bothered me. Since I became a policeman, I guess.
Again, that magic day.
Must be a magic day or something.
Well, you might say this, when I was coming up in high school, I used to be called a whole lot of names. And my instructions from my mother would tell me, sticks and stones may break your bones, but talk don't bother you. Mm-hmm. And this is what I was brought up in. I grew up with this. Names can't hurt you. Words can't hurt you. Only physical things can hurt you.
That's good. I just, like I was saying, I just hope that that's where it's at. I just really do. I think that you maybe should look at that. I mean, because it doesn't make really any difference to me. You're the one that's going to be on those steps.
Well, once you put on a uniform, you're going to be called names anyway.
Mm-hmm.
But like that group there, they're going to call names. You won't know where the names are coming from. You might identify one. Names doesn't bother you. But if it was
my opinion is one individual called me a name. Now, then I'll probably take action. But it's a group, I think, what we're trying to control. It doesn't bother me.
I'd like to find out what Dave felt. Somebody is swiping in front of your shirt.
Well, as far as that individual picking me out, I'd file a report on. Most of these people we know, and our video equipment, we can identify those that are involved in it, rather than me having to pick him out at that particular time. If I wish to arrest him at a later date, the videotape would show what he did, and it would show that I had no reaction before or after, and it'd be a better case on my behalf whenever I took him to court.
Dave, can I ask you a question? And ask you also at the same time to try to be pretty honest, not necessarily to me, but to you, is when you're in this type of situation, you've got all this video, tape recordings, and all this stuff on your mind, and you know all these technicalities, how you're going to be able to get this person at a later date. You've got that up front. You don't have the fact that you've got, irrational, hostile, screaming individual standing in front of you. You're thinking about all these other things.
Well, I think that the individual himself has to cross your mind once or twice. There's no way to blot that out. You stand right there staring face to face. As far as how far he pushes you, you just got to take as much as he throws until it gets to the point where he's making physical contact with you. As far as attempting to remove you from where you're at or disable you where you're at, then I think it's that some type of reaction would be involved in there. As far as what it would be. If I was knocked down, I can tell you what happened in situations in the past, but as far as telling you what would happen in the future.
Well, suppose you tell us what happened in the past. It might be of real interest to us.
This was during the, I guess when the Cambodian thing first came up, I guess it was in '69, and there were 14 of us at the front door of ROTC when about 2,000 people marched on the building. And we were lined up just like these situations that we've had here, and whenever the first rush of the crowd, there were, I guess, the front leaders or whoever it was that had made up their minds of what they wanted to do. They attempted to break our lines that we had set up down there, and there was some fists being thrown by the crowds and some retaliations by the officers that were receiving it. As far as me standing here and tell you that I could let little rocks bounce off my body and they're not hurt, they were being thrown down there, and we had some officers injured, and until the, I guess what leadership would call a neutral zone was established, and the situation that was taking place down there was one where neither side is in control of what's going on. And then the sheriff's office arrived with about 85 people, and the situation neutralized. But when it was just between us and the students, and there were about 2,000 of them and about 14 of us at the front door of ROTC, I'd say it was a situation that could have gone either way. And the way it went, there was a few bruises by the officers, and I'm sure a few of the officers delivered a few. And fortunately, no one was seriously injured down there. But I think that was just on the part of what violent activity was thrown at us and what our reactions were to it.
You're not saying it. I'm just trying to make something clear in my mind. Do you say that you have to respond in the exact like amount to the violence that's thrown at you? Do you get the question?
As far as I'm concerned, as far as you can conceive that as part of that, you can see what's going to come at you in 3 or 4 stages. The verbal abuse, I believe almost everybody can stand here and take that for. I guess you
think so?
It's back to the individual again. Like everybody has their own temperament, and they can take that for so long. But I think as long as the people that are behind us can keep us in control, then the situation won't get out of hand as long as it's that far. And then when the rocks start getting thrown and the people start wielding sticks, there's nothing you can do except defend yourself. And if that means
retaliative blows, and that's where it gets to that.
Well, going by just what you said, it seems like we're sort of degenerating into what's coming at us. Whatever level they come, we get on the same level. Fight fire with fire, an eye for an eye, whatever you want to call it. What happened to this superhuman quality?
Well, all I can say is that you can expect a police officer to act like a police officer as long as he's being treated by what he represents. I mean,
Are you saying, forgive me for interrupting, are you saying that so long as people deal with me with dignity and respect and regard, I can behave as a police officer? But when I start getting abused and pushed around and called names, then something new is going to emerge?
I think that
this, of course, is what this course is all about.
Yes, well, I think that's just, what's being brought out so far, the way Ron reacted to that, and the way all of us were there, and only one person reacted. But each one of us is going to react to the situation differently.
Do you think there's any chance of learning how to react in some common way that's in the best interest of the police and the community?
Well, I think, all of us have that interest in mind, but whenever your personal safety becomes, and the entire group, if somebody's standing there in front of me wielding a pickaxe, he can expect to see my stick once or twice.
Fair enough.
You can train all of us to stand up here and take verbal abuse and maybe a little spit from an officer or from a crowd like this, and then we get up in front of Westcott and we don't get spit, but we get rocks and pickaxes, and you might have trained us to bat your eye when it's coming, but if it's a big stick, you can't bat your eye.
Well, really, we hadn't thought that far ahead. Jack, you look very sad. Let's go with you.
Well, I'm just thinking of what's been tossed back and forth. Y'all were talking about this iron badge or what have you, but I think you have to prepare yourself each time you do put on this uniform mentally. Just like you, I mean, you've got several roles. We all have several roles. And this particular one, okay, the uniform's not iron, but yet you've got to be mentally capable of representing what this badge stands for. By no means it's going to make you a Superman, but I think it makes you more aware of what your responsibilities are. And true, in the heat of battle, if you want to call it that, you may forget. And I say I won't, I hope I won't forget, but who knows?
Woody was getting a little bit of hassle over here in the corner. What went on with you?
Nothing big. He had a little bit of verbal abuse, true, and he asked for a reason, and I gave him a reason. I just told him I couldn't come in because it was a fire hazard. There were too many people in there already. That was it. I mean, there were no arguments.
But I don't think it bothers me. I know me, it doesn't bother me as much. Say you got several people, call your name. But when you have one person call your name, now then it's personal. And it makes a hell of a lot of difference when you have 200 people calling you a pig and when you have one.
A chant like we heard in that Smith Hall episode doesn't bother you. It's when somebody stands right in front of you, looks you square in the eye and calls you a four-letter Anglo-Saxon word.
Then you got to say, I'm a policeman. That's the way I am. I mean, but now a group, true. I mean, a group will bother you. I'm not sitting here saying it won't bother you. But one person is what really dogs the devil out of you. I mean, that is what gets to you. Because then it's personal. It's you and that individual. It's not you and that big group.
It stops being a symbol. It's a one-to-one human being, and you can only take so much.
Right. You don't have to take it then.
So much.
That's the thing. You don't have to take it then. You'll take an enormous amount of verbal abuse when the odds are 50 or 100 to 1, or if you take an action that will result in everything blowing way out of proportion. But like the man said, one-on-one, no way. I don't have to take it.
What's the real difference? So let's think about that. Let's think about what is the difference. So does that, just because it's one-on-one, does that make what I'm doing any more right?
No, but the difference is you don't want to create what's already happening. If you create you already got a right starting, and there's a group, and there's one individual, there's not going to be a problem there, because
So what you're saying is that I'll be rational just as long as I have to be. But when I get a shot not to be, let me have it.
No, didn't say anything about rationality. Now, we said about taking the lawful action, such as if you stand, okay, you're walking down the street, I turn around the corner, and you advise me verbally to have intercourse with myself. Right?
Fuck yourself.
There you go.
All right.
Right out there, all by yourself and everything else. Now, what am I going to do? I'm going to stop my car, I'm going to get out, walk over, and place you under arrest, and take you downtown and put you in jail. Now, if there's 50 of you over there, and I drive by, and I see you, okay, I'm going to look. If I recognize you, fine. Tomorrow, you might get arrested. But now, no, I'm not going to touch you with a 10-foot pole. I'm not going to haul a man in if it's going to result in a situation of a riot where a lot of people could be hurt. I mean, maybe even me, you know. I mean, I've got to think about that, too. We do have
Hey, I wonder if I can raise a question with you. You're riding down a dark street, and a car goes by, and somebody shouts out, "Fuck you." You turn around and follow the car and make an arrest. Why is that?
I can't, unless I saw the individual.
I beg pardon?
Unless I saw the individual, a car. If there's more than one person in it.
Let's say it's a car with one driver, and you see the guy mouthing these precious words. And you follow him, and maybe he speeds up, and you're going 70 miles down Tennessee. Why?
Well, he is.
This is strictly. I'm not suggesting that you're doing right and wrong.
Yes.
I just want clarification for myself.
He's violated the law for one thing, by use of indecent, profane language in public.
What's the evidence?
If he starts speeding.
Let's stick to that, just for the sake of argument.
Okay. Well, if he starts speeding, then he's violating some more.
Let's just leave it at that without the speeding thing.
Okay. He's violated the law.
It had nothing to do with, he called me, A.L. Woodruff, told me to get fucked. It had nothing to do with that at all. Why should it? Why should it? Again, we're going
Do you arrest people every time you hear them say you use indecent language? You must have arrested some of your buddies here.
It all depends upon the light in which it is used, really. I mean,
What if...
Well, you suppose you came to the station house and you saw Ron and Jack in a heated argument. Now, I know this happens sometimes. And they're using bad words to each other. Do you arrest them?
if I've got good sense.
Darn right. As a matter of fact, that's what we're trying to arrive at. What's good sense? Why isn't it good sense to arrest these two foul-mouthed characters?
Well, if we get a legitimate complaint from a citizen that they did do this and an affidavit sworn out for them, then we'd have to. Or if we witnessed it and we got a complaint at the same time, then we wouldn't have any choice but to take the action.
But you didn't make a complaint when the guy was driving down the road and he yelled out
You can
the
make a
window.
complaint.
So
Why would you make the complaint?
make the complaint?
Okay, say you're riding down the road in this position, man. Okay, now how about you? Do you feel slighted or anything else? Do you feel as a citizen that you should...
I think he's asking a legitimate...
Do you feel as a citizen that you have to take that?
I
No?
wouldn't make a complaint.
But you wouldn't make a complaint?
No, I guess I hear it too often.
No, I
Okay.
think I would take it personal.
Say the Baptist minister.
Oh, I'm not saying that I wouldn't feel something, of
Mhm.
course, but I wouldn't, I don't think it would be any fantastic thing.
The other night I was directing traffic for the basketball game. Car came by. Fuck you! You know, I got a tag number, you know. Mainly, you know, I'm going to get you. But then, in say 5 or 10 minutes,
Talk to AL if you will.
I had calmed down enough, you know, and I didn't do anything about it. But at that time,
At the moment,
I was burned. Oh,
and
I was
one of the things
burned.
we're trying to learn is what happens momentarily.
I was
in terms of
burned.
your
I really
life.
was. You know, I took it right in the heart. You know.
Why didn't you follow through on your sworn duty?
He couldn't, for one thing. He was directing traffic.
Right. Well, he could have gone back to the station house and sat down. They wrote a big brief.
I could have got the
Yes.
tag and all that, went
And
served and
the
everything.
chief would call you in and say, what's this, Jack?
Well,
And then you call in this stupid student, and he says, you're crazy, I wouldn't even go to the ball game.
Okay,
What's
now,
the payoff?
no payoff. I don't particularly get any gratification.
In terms of payoff. What is the good about being very sensitive about foul language? Now, personally, I don't use foul language, and I'm very sensitive about it. But what I'm trying to find out is, from the perspective of good community relations, what's the advantage of being very sensitive about bad language? Is it helping the community, or is it helping your momentary burn that Jack was describing? Is it helping the image of the police, or is it only compensation for what's going on inside?
Now, if you want to be truthful about it, be the compensation for what's going on inside. Now, if you want to be...
And I think that's a legitimate reason if we know we're behaving on that posture. But
Okay, but then if you realize this, then you can correct it. In other words, you know where to start. You know where it's happening. Then you can.
You can say, in effect, I can live with this son of a bitch calling me a bad name.
Then
It hardly warrants my chasing him for 2 miles. As you read in the papers, you know, day after day, accident occurred because
5 minutes later, you can be rational about it. You can think, you know, like, you know, what did he say?
It's
You know,
30 seconds. Not even 5 minutes. I think you remember in your own situation, 30 seconds.
You can be
It
rational.
goes into.
You consider the source, I guess. You rationalize is what you do, I guess. You know, you have to, because you don't, you're gonna go crazy. Yeah.
You get a person that's drunk and happy, and fuck you, so on. Or you get a man that looks up with all the hate in the world and says, fuck you. And to me, there's a lot of difference there.
What is the difference?
Intent. I believe the feeling of
What is the
intent.
difference? What difference is that happy saying or that hostile one? What difference in the damage that it did to you? It didn't do any damage, did it? How did it hurt you? Did you bleed? Did you have bruises as a result of it?
Oh, no.
Is it making your paycheck smaller? Anything like that? Well, where's the difference, Al? Where's the difference?
Don't know.
How about
Except that with the hostile tone, it is you have a target of direction. An obvious more target of direction is noted.
No, I'm not talking about directions and all that stuff. I'm talking about you, Al. I'm talking about what goes on inside your head when in these two different types of situations. What difference? The other one you say, well, he's just having a good time. I'm not going to get. The other one say, well, he really meant it. What difference does it make? You see the point? Does anybody see the point I'm trying to say? It don't make any damn difference. Unless you make a difference. Unless you let it. And then the complications that follow are not his fault for that same, but your fault. Because you're the ones that you figured, well, he started it.
Everybody had a chance to speak? Anybody want to speak again? Joe? John? Okay, now we really have a difficult episode coming up. Can I have the next slide, please? Here we see a fraternity house. And I'd like you to think it's late at night, around 11:30, it's midnight. And what's happened is that this fraternity house has a platform, not a platform, but a porch in front of it. And what you've been told at the office is something along these lines. Now, do you get the picture of the scene in your mind? If you'll turn around now and close your eyes, let me paint it for you a little bit in greater detail. You've been told by the chief that a very excited lady has just telephoned that at the ABC fraternity a rape is going on. A bunch of drunken hooligans have dragged the little girl into the place and they're murdering her. And they want a big squad down just as quickly as possible to save this poor kid. And you know something about this fraternity, you know it's a place where a lot of drinking goes on. On the other hand, the chief also warned you not to do anything rash or stupid, and certainly not to create a scandal or anything of that nature. So here you have these contradictory directives,